how does an employer create this sort of atmosphere, environment of trust? What are the things that make that actually happen? You can't flip the switch, right? But what are the things that can compose that over time?
I think there's a couple of questions in that question. So with all due respect, I may start somewhere else. It's not just a matter of how, it's as much a matter of who. Because before you go to the how, there's a couple of, I would say, base thing we need to first understand. And one of them being, who is it? And first of all, trust and having that environment is something that has to be delivered by everyone who are employed in the organization. As a leader, I can trust and foster trust, but I cannot, and I can do that with my leadership, but it has to be created by all the people in the organization, not just me, everybody. So you have to think that, you have to have that, in my opinion, as a mindset. The other thing you need to know is, if we talk about, we want to create a more trustful workplace, let's use that as a term. It is like sailing. If you want to come to a point, you need to know where you are. So there is also that, where am I? Before I can put a direction, I need to know where I'm at and where I'm going. Then you can put a direction. And there, for me, it's about trying to take a look at what I refer to as the low trust indicators. And I think we it's not rocket science to know what is the level of trust in the organization I'm at. If you have a lot of employee turnover, if you have hard time recruiting, it's actually probably one of the reasons, because people know, hey, this ain't a fun place to work. If the energy is low, the productivity is low, there's burnout, who want to work there? And again, that leads to finger pointing. This is where all the water cooler talks are running. You end up with a lot of rules where you have to define what you cannot do to compensate for the bad ones you have there, the bad culture. The innovation sucks. Nobody shares information because you don't really trust anyone. You don't really have a lot of respect. And then you get that passive aggressive behavior. And then everybody eventually resign. And then in comes the very good friend of that, which is the cynicism. So that is, for me, how you spot a low trust culture. Now, if you want to create a high trust culture or go in that direction, you have to start at the very top. Board, chairman, CEO, this is where it starts. Middle managers can do some, but if it doesn't start at the very top, it will never get there. So for me, the how is as much from where, so from where it starts, from the top. And then you can have that discussion about, okay, we were here, these were the low trust indicators we have now. How do we want to have the high trust? Well, you want fun and laughter, because nobody laughs with colleagues if they don't trust them, because that's a good way of signaling, hey, I actually trust you. You have that positive team building behaviors like gratitude, empathy, candor in your conversation. You want to be, open and vulnerable as a person, and speak freely and listen to others. And that gives you the high confidence. But trying to get those two things up against each other will tell you what is the size of the gap. And then you can, as a leader, begin addressing and say, where is it we have the problem? Is it about accountability? Is it about the transparency as the norm? That's the problem. Do we have the sense of community and shared values? Is this where the problems are? Those you can relatively simply measure. There's a lot of frameworks for that. And as you do that, it's really about getting into the modus of having a vocabulary as a leader, but also as an organization, about the need to trust. How do we trust each other? How do we develop this based on the behaviors that we as individuals have, so that we can foster that trust that is so important for us as individuals to coexist with each other? Because otherwise we end up being cynical and hateful and all the things we don't want, and then we're back in the negativity that comes out of a low trust culture.